You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Every weeknight, it's Buzz After Dark.
You like that?
With Eric Steele.
Hang out with me Monday through Friday from 7 to midnight for the Buzz After Dark. It's kind of like the Titanic, except instead of 3 hours to sink, it takes 5 hours.
Freaks come out at night, that's for sure. The Buzz After Dark. After Dark.
All night long.
Awesome tunes, clothing optional.
Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Weeknight 7 to midnight on 102.9 The Buzz. Nashville's Rock Station.
Hello, and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. This episode is the first volume of what will be many volumes, where you, the listener, gets to ask the members of Night Demon, well, basically anything you want. This is episode number 4, Ask the Demon. For this first installment of Ask the Demon, we've compiled a list of questions from email, Instagram, Facebook. But for future installments, if you have a question you want answered, there's a special Ask the Demon email address. It's askthedemon, all one word, at nightdemon.net. So if you have a question, something you've been wondering, send along an email, and the guys in the band will do their best to give you an answer. So that's askthedemon at nightdemon.net. So let's get right to it. The first email is from Marcus in Germany. He says, what comes first when you're writing new songs, the music or the lyrics? Stay safe, guys. See you on the road in Germany.
Normally, the music comes first, be it an idea that either Jarvis brings in or I bring in as a guitar riff or a bass line of a series of chords kind of thing, or sometimes it can be like a major main riff of a song, and then we kind of get together in the room and jam together and start putting pieces together, and usually the lyrics come later. Jarvis gets pretty much takes care of that. But I will say that I guess there are sometimes some songs that are inspired by an idea for a lyric. Maybe the lyrics aren't completely written, but at least the idea for the lyrics are thought about beforehand, and the music can be written kind of around that.
That's actually a question that I get asked a lot. And I mean, the short answer is it just varies on the song. But most of the time it would just start with a guitar riff. Like most hard rock and heavy metal stuff, I mean, it's all based around that killer guitar riff. So that's usually how a song would come about. But lately, for us, we kind of have a mood that we want to go into with a certain song, and I think we communicate a lot more about that now. Our intent when we write music now is, well, it's always been a quality over quantity game for us. I mean, I guess there's a reason why we don't have a million albums out, but we've also never written a song that hasn't made it on an album. So we try not to write what we call throwaway tunes or bottom drawer jams. It's just not our thing. I think when it's time to write a song, we go all in.
When we write songs, we usually work on the music first. Normally a guitar riff, and then if I come up with something that we might be able to kind of work with, we'll go with it. Trying to come up with a drum idea isn't always the easiest, especially because a lot of the beats have already been done. And a lot of cool ideas have already been done. Every now and then I come up with something cool that can contribute to any song idea. Transitional fills, accent parts, sometimes endings to songs or, intro fills, stuff like that. But mainly we shape a song around the guitar riff. And then Jarvis will write the lyrics, or if we'll do like a collaboration, sometimes we get together and work on lyrics together, and Jarvis will send us over something and we'll look at it, and he usually asks a couple different sources what they think about lyric content and stuff like that. So, but mostly we write the music before we do any of the lyrics. So that's how we do it.
So there you have it. It's interesting though, if you go back and listen to episode number 3 of this podcast, where we talked to Robert Garvin from Cirith Ungol, and how he collaborated with the guys in Night Demon to come up with the lyric to Hallowed Ground. So I guess Night Demon, they've been known to collaborate on lyrics occasionally too. This next question is a great one. I cannot wait to talk about this. Next question is from George Solano. It says, "Hi, Night Demon. You've covered a lot of the old greats of metal, but not Priest yet. What are your favorite Judas Priest songs, and will you do a cover of them soon? Thanks, and keep up the amazing work." So if you've been listening to Night Demon for a while, or if you've been collecting the 7-inch vinyl singles especially, you know that Night Demon likes to throw in a cool cover here and there. They really show their influences proudly. They've covered Iron Maiden on the Wisteria single as the B-side. They did a live version of Wasted Years. I love that song, and I love that version of that song. It's awesome. They've also covered Diamond Head. They did a kick-ass version of Lightning to the Nations. That was a bonus track on the independent reissue of their first EP. That's another great version of a really classic new wave of British heavy metal tune. They've even covered Black Sabbath. They did a killer version of Turn Up the Night. That's on the B-side of the Black Widow 7-inch single.
A simple equation, that's the relation, but that's gone too far. A time of suspicion, a special condition that we all know. So let it all go. Turn up the lights. Turn up the lights. Turn up the lights. It feels so right.
I love that version too. And if you can pull off covering Dio era Sabbath, like with that quality, like that's saying something. Very impressive. So Maiden, Sabbath, I mean, they even covered Queen. And I gotta say, this version of We Will Rock You, I like this much better than even the Queen version.
Body or a boy, make a big noise playing in the street. Gonna be a big man today. Got mud on your face, big disgrace. Kicking your can all over the place. We will rock you. We will. Body or a young man, hard man shouting in the street.
That's another one. I think that's just amazing. It's like the far superior, in my opinion, the live Killers version of We Will Rock You that Queen does. Anyway, Night Demon knocks that one out of the park too. Now on the Are You Out There vinyl single, which that whole song is kind of a tribute to Thin Lizzy, but the B-side of that is a Thin Lizzy cover of The Sun Goes Down, which is awesome.
The sun goes down. Oh, the sun goes down. The sun goes.
If you haven't heard that whole song, Jarvis's vocal delivery is, I don't know, it gives you goosebumps. It's really great performance all around by the whole band. Episode number 2 of this podcast, we talked about the 2 Scorpions covers that they did, In Trance and Top of the Bill. And in case you're curious, those 7-inch singles in the 3 colors, they sold out in less than a day. So you're out of luck if you waited on those. Anyway, I'm not going to go through every cover, but like I said, Night Demon, they show their influences very proudly. They do some pretty kick-ass covers. And just a note, all these B-sides and rare tracks are available to stream in the subscriber section of nightdemon.net. So nightdemon.net/subscriber. But back to the question, it is a great question. All these bands, all these covers, how come no Judas Priest?
Well, actually, when Brent was still in the band, we did a Judas Priest tribute, and Armand was actually the second guitar player when we did that. We did it in October of 2013. So I had just been getting together with the band and rehearsing with them to play drums on Curse of the Damned. And we ended up doing a Judas Priest tribute. So, man, I don't even remember what we learned, but I know some of my favorites were like Green Manalishi, The Ripper. We did Hellbent for Leather. I can't even remember. Of course, Breaking the Law. We did Metal Gods. I don't know. I mean, I love Priest. I love all their stuff. I love, a lot of their things like pre-Painkiller. I know Painkiller is like a favorite of everybody's and stuff, but I love the classic Priest stuff like Screaming for Vengeance and British Steel and Stained Class. So, I don't know. I think that's something that we would, maybe one day just be like, okay, let's do this obscure Priest song, or, we're never going to cover Living After Midnight or, the songs you hear on the radio, Breaking the Law. I know we've played Breaking the Law live, but I don't think that's something that we would, necessarily put down on record just because it would just be like, who cares? Doing it live, it's a sing-along song so everybody can get into it, and, who doesn't like Breaking the Law? Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. But yeah, good question.
Hey, George, how you doing? This is a great question. And believe it or not, we have covered Judas Priest songs. And not only have we covered 1 or 2 Judas Priest songs, but we actually did a Judas Priest tribute band for Halloween one year, which featured the entire band before Armand was in the band. So Brent Woodward and Armand both played guitar. I guess, look, that seems to be the only time that the two of them have been on stage together. But we did that, and so Brent was like the KK Downing, and Armand was the Glenn Tipton, and I was like the Ian Hill, just oil rigging back there. That's what we call it. I got to give a shout out to my girl Bonnie Butrago from Nashville Pussy. She came up with that one, oil rigging. That's what Ian Hill does. He just kind of bounce. He does this little bounce thing back there with his legs, and we call it like oil rigging, like he's pumping oil out of the ground. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. And our friend Aaron Orbit actually did the Rob Halford. He sang. He's got such a great dynamic voice. He's also the bass player for Twin Temple, our satanic buddies. So, check it all out.
So Night Demon doing a full Judas Priest set as a Judas Priest tribute. I would have loved to have been there. I'm looking at the show poster for it right now. It says Hell Bent for Pleather, Halloween Night 2013. Free in costume, $5 without. Man, what a deal. Anyway, even more bonus content in nightdemon.net/subscribers. There's photos, poster artwork, and live, never-before-seen video footage of this Hellbent for Pleather Judas Priest Halloween cover gig. So the full Hellbent for Pleather Priest Halloween tribute show video available for subscribers. The only time in history the 2 guitar players of Night Demon on stage together. So, George, I hope that answers your question. Next question is from Scott from Massachusetts. He says, this is a gear question. So he says, what pedals does Jarvis use?
Oh, the dreaded question. You know, if I told you, I'd have to kill you, right? A man cannot give away his secrets, his tone secrets. But no, I'll just tell you, I'm pretty bare bones these days. I started out with a Trainer YBA3 Master Volume, 1974. These heads are fucking amazing. It's like the Canadian version of a Marshall, but made for bass. And I've got a few of these things. Every time I see one, I buy one. They're very hard to get. It's the Master Volume version. That is, in essence, has always been the cornerstone of my tone. And I usually just put a drive pedal in front of it and just crank the level on it so I could just push the front end as hard as I can. But, you know, these days I've got, you know, I use chorus pedals and reverb and delay and stuff like this, some fuzz pedals. But, I mean, really, the thing is being able to play all around the world and having to play on so many different pieces of gear, you kind of just learn after a while, you know, how to get a good tone out of anything or how to sound like you. I think that's the most important thing, how to sound like you. A lot of the tone just comes from my hands. And that's it. I have a certain feel from my instrument, and I'm at a point in my life where I'm very comfortable with it, and it does a lot of expression for me. I'm able to close my eyes and feel it and play it and feel the vibrations from it and have that just resonate within my body. And it's a familiar feeling. And fuck, it's a fucking good one to have, especially in this band.
So there's some insight into Jarvis's gear. Now this might make me into a huge Night Demon / music / gear nerd. But when these 2020 singles dropped out of the blue over the last few months, shortly thereafter on YouTube, these behind the song videos came out. So it's like behind the songs, Are You Out There, for example. I watched all these videos, and if you freeze frame these videos, there's tons of shots of gear in there. So you want to see some pedals, you want to see some amps, you want to see what instruments they're playing. That's a great place to see Night Demon recording in the studio, in different studios. And man, you pause. There's tons of, really cool gear stuff. If you're into that, I'm just really curious about stuff like that. So you watch these videos, you hit pause, and there's lots of stuff to see in there for my fellow gear nerds that are listening.
What is up, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners? This is your resident motor mouth, Jarvis Leatherby, telling you about something very, very special here. The Decibel Hall of Fame Anthology Volume 3. This is a book, guys. That's right. We all know Decibel Magazine as the #1 metal magazine in North America for many years running. But you know what? They also have a fucking killer book series, okay? I want to tell you about this. The Decibel Hall of Fame Anthology Volume 3. This limited edition hardcover includes 25 Hall of Fame stories from Decibel's revered monthly series of artist interviews on the making of their classic extreme music albums. Featured in this book are stories behind classic albums such as Stained Class by Judas Priest, Apocalyptic Raids from our good buddy Tom Warrior's Hellhammer, Pleasure to Kill from Teutonic German terror creator, Court in the Act from the legendary new wave of British heavy metal gods Satan, and of course, Abigail from the legendary King Diamond. And last but not least, Night Demon's personal favorite, Heartwork from the only other band from Liverpool, Carcass. So guys, please head on over right now to store.decibelmagazine.com and grab a copy to read the definite stories of heavy metal's definitive albums. Put in the promo code Night Demon upon checkout to receive 10% off. That's Night Demon, one word, all capital letters. Get your 10%, store.decibelmagazine.com. While you're there, guys, go ahead and grab a subscription of the Mag 2. They've got a great vinyl flexi series. Do yourselves a favor here. Get on the level. Store.decibelmagazine.com. Promo code Night Demon. See ya.
This next question, well, it's from Instagram. Guy's username is Van Halen D's Nuts 1984, which is kind of cool. He says, this is also a question very dear to my heart. And he asks, who do you prefer, Maiden with Paul or Maiden with Bruce? I have a feeling this is going to be a hard one to answer. And no mention of Blaze Bayley. Anyway, Maiden with Paul or Maiden with Bruce?
This is a loaded question and a hard question and a question that I cannot answer, as they are both great in their own way. Paul or Bruce? Both great, both great. I can't choose one or the other, sorry.
I guess I don't know, that's a tough one. I like them both a whole lot. Love Paul Di'Anno's grit and punk attitude, but Bruce, I guess I would go with Bruce just because of his vocal capacity and the crazy stage show and energy, and the fact that he's the jack of all trades, and he's a pilot, and he's involved with, God knows how many other things. So, just overall, I don't think the band, you never know. I don't know if the band would have been as popular with Paul later on down the road if they would have kept that kind of style going. I guess that's where we come into play. We've picked up where they left off back in the Paul days. If only I was as good as Clive Burr. But, for me, I love the Bruce stuff just because it's just so freaking amazing, and his vocals are, bar none, some of the greatest in the business.
I prefer Maiden with Bruce Dickinson. And this is, to me, a bit of an unfair question, but I'm here to answer. So if I have to give an answer, that's what I'm going to give. So, and I guess for the sole reason of longevity, I mean, like the first two Paul Di'Anno, the first two records with Paul are amazing. And, if you're going to talk about comparing vocal styles and stuff, many people identify myself and Paul's voice versus me and Bruce any day of the week, which is funny because Bruce's real name is Paul, right? I believe it is. Yeah, I think so. So they're actually both Paul. But, longevity factor and just what what he's able to do, it takes more. You have to look at more than just vocal ability when being in a band, and when being in a band for decades. He really elevates the game for the band. And part of it is being a front man as well. And he is a great front man. It's just, what can I say? I mean, he's a true Renaissance man. And he's one of these guys that, I try and model my life after too. A lot of times people tell me that I need to slow down and not do so many things. But this is what keeps me going. This is what keeps me alive. And I explained this to a good friend the other day. And it's like, look, you may have your one bucket and it's half empty, but I've got 11 buckets and they're all half full here. So, anyway, back to the question at hand. I admire Bruce just for just having focus, to be awesome at all these other things and all these interests in life, and just proving that you can really just come from anywhere and be anybody and do anything you want, and he's a fucking badass, and he's classic, and oldest ride, longest line, he's got it. He's proven it.
Yeah. Tough question. I like Jarvis's answer, and it is true. Bruce Dickinson's name is actually Paul Dickinson. He's actually the fifth person named Paul to be in Iron Maiden, and the third singer named Paul to be in Iron Maiden. So, something weird going on with people named Paul and Iron Maiden. Anyway, next question is short and sweet. It comes from Houses of the Zeppelin on Instagram. And they ask, will you come to Sweden once the pandemic is over?
We would love to come to Sweden when the pandemic is over. I'm really happy to get this question, actually, because for some reason, I've never really felt like Night Demon has had a lot of traction, not only in Sweden, but just Scandinavia in general. And we've been up there a lot. We've played the Muscle Rock Fest, which is it's a very cool traditional heavy metal festival, totally out in the woods. I mean, it's awesome. But, we've done Gothenburg plenty of times, Truck Stop Alaska. We went there with Accept. We've played a lot of great shows. Our friends in the band Screamer are out there, and Enforcer and Bullet. We have a lot of very cool Swedish bands. Robert Pearson's Humbucker, by the way, I got to give a shout out to that guy. And our buddy Joseph Thole plays out there with him. But, it's a great place, and we love playing there. And there's always a strong connection between Swedish rock and roll and I mean, it's like the UK, Sweden, and America just have this kind of similar musical all-seeing eye, I guess you could say. And I think there's a lot of mutual respect happening musically, where we're always kind of watching what each other are doing and getting very influenced by each other. So it's great. There's not this kind of dominant thing going on. And yes, we would love to come back to Sweden.
The next question's from someone with the username Furo. He or she says, how is it that Live Darkness's sound quality is so good? So Live Darkness is a live Night Demon album. It came out in 2018, August of 2018, and it was recorded in Cleveland, Ohio, December of 2017. And it does sound really great.
The quality of Live Darkness is so good because we did a lot of planning going into making that record and doing that performance. We hired a really good sound engineer to record us live. We brought out our own amps from home. We flew them out to Cleveland. We spent a lot of time in sound check, getting the sound right. Everything was recorded on separate tracks. So basically it was like recording a studio album because we had everything recorded in a clean signal so that we could mix and make sure everything sounded the best that it could. So that's it. And I mean, the band was just really on fire. We put a lot of time into rehearsing for that. The energy coming off the crowd really pumped us up and got us to create that performance, which obviously there's no way we could have done that performance without the audience that we had there. So that's pretty much it. It's those few things that you put together that just create magic. And I think we captured that, and I'm really proud of that.
Well, we spent a lot of time, looking around for the right person to come in and record it. And we ran through some songs at rehearsal to test all the gear and make sure everything was mic'd properly. And then if we needed any adjustments, we did it there. I believe our sound check that day, it was like an hour or, 2 hours maybe at the most. We just spent a lot of time making sure all the sounds were right. And, the fact that we were prepared to play all the songs that night that we had on the list. And, I really feel that, that's what makes that record sound so good, is just the fact that we were prepared for it and just went out and executed the game plan. I know for me personally, when we recorded that record, it was like the Super Bowl, it was like the biggest game of my career. You have to just go out there and execute, and you get one shot, and, trying not to get into my head about it was the hard part. You know, I had to kind of talk myself down a bit and just say, hey, you know how to do this, you know these songs, just go out there and execute. And I know the other two guys, Jarvis and Armand, I know they have their own way of getting set and ready to play these shows, and that one was a really important one for us all around. So I know that we all had our heads in a good place, and, you know, we had a great mix then once it was done and we had it all together, then, you know, mixed it down and mastered it and everything just came together. So that's why it's such a great sounding record.
That was Tony Alberts who engineered that, who recorded that. He's done some amazing recordings in his day, live recordings, especially Night Demon shows. I mean, I can attest to that. There's been a couple classic shows. I think he did a couple Maple Grove shows. I don't know. I don't think he recorded us at the Agora. I wish we had that on tape. That was, I mean, I'm not going to say the peak of Night Demon in Cleveland, but I mean, the fire was burning hot on that one. And, you know, Shock Paris and Destructor, you know, as support acts, that was a strange thing for us to go there and have those guys support us. Or like Black Death Resurrected supported us. It's just like, I mean, these are legendary bands, and I don't know. It's, you know, I've been humbled a lot in my life, but it's a true honor for us. And, you know, anyway, I know your question is about the album. You know, Tony did a great job, and also Jason Vanek over at Mercenary Studios out there helped us a lot with editing out all the pops and all the crap. You know, I mean, the thing with that record was we really wanted to make it seem like you were there. So, you know, mic placement in the crowds in the audience was a big deal to us, and you know, things go on down the line through there too. Even when you talk about, you know, the mixing of the album, and that was also something that was I thought was done really well by Ryan. And you know, Armand had that connection with him because they actually play in a Lynyrd Skynyrd tribute band called One More for the Road, and that's cool that he had that connection because that guy had mixed a lot of Stone Temple Pilots records that actually, I really like the sound on those records were huge or amazing. So that was really cool. And, you know, hey, look, you got the live energy of a red hot Cleveland audience, and you got Night Demon on stage, and they know they're there to be recorded, you know, and we didn't allow any photography or video. Well, we have our own, we had our house stuff, but no phones were allowed in there. And, you know, some people complain, but overall it was a great vibe. And when we kept it to what it was, and those people in that audience are forever immortalized on that record.
Yeah, Live Darkness, man, it's a great album. It really captures the essence of what Night Demon's all about. Like, you get the energy and the performance. I mean, the set list, there's 23 songs, and the sequencing of the set list, I mean, the flow to this concert is great. Because, I don't know, live albums, it can be hard to capture the intensity of a live performance. A lot of these like live streams that people do online, that's why they kind of fail, because you're not really capturing that intensity. But this album does it. It like really delivers. I don't know, Night Demon's probably the hardest, or one of the hardest working touring bands on the go. And yeah, it really comes through on this live album. I listened to this triple vinyl about a week ago, and listening to it and looking through the album art and like seeing the pictures from the live show, man, it really drives home how much I miss live shows these days. Because, you know, no one's seeing Night Demon in the immediate future with all this pandemic going on. So having a live album like this it's a really great way to connect with that feeling again. I don't know. I guess I'm getting a bit cheesy, a little sentimental. But anyway, there's a full episode coming in the future of the Live Darkness album, where we're going to tell the whole story of that epic show in Cleveland, the making of the album, everything. That's coming up in the future, so stay tuned for that. Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you'd like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearth live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber and join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass. All right, before we get to the next question, I want to remind everybody that if you have a question that you want answered about anything Night Demon, ask the demon at nightdemon.net. Send an email and the guys in the band will do their best to answer. So, the next question is from username Thrashaholic on Instagram, who asks, is Killer and or Screams in the Night about any specific serial killers? That's an awesome question.
Yeah, Killer is actually about Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. He was a local Los Angeles serial killer in the 80s, and he was like the kind of like the most metal guy, I guess, because he had the pentagram on his hand, and he was just all fucking weird and shit, like, in the courtroom appearances and stuff. He was just a very disturbed individual, having that possessed look and just, complete fucking psychopath. Fucking, it's just, but I mean, our parents, grew up in LA and stuff. And so they were around when all this shit was happening. And it's like people were fucking scared, like, like when this stuff was going on, and it's just like, we all kind of remember the time when this was happening. And it's like, a lot of those big serial killer stories happened in the 70s before my time. So, to kind of, during the whole satanic panic days, he was a big part of that. And that's just a big part of metal mythology. And we, again, it's a local story for us too. So it was cool to dive into that and cover that. And actually our good buddy, Ruben Perez, who drew the Night Demon logo, who created it, he made a video for Killer. We never released that video, but it was really cool. I don't know if we could find it anywhere. We'll see if we could dig something like that up and put it in Rocky's crypt over there out of the vault for you guys. So let's see what happens.
So the song Killer is about Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Now the job is done. Wipe off the blade. Stop and take a look at the mess you made. Wipe your face. Clean your boots. Look into the mirror. Recognize yourself as a killer. Killing just for fun.
That is a great track. I think an underrated track. It's kind of tucked away there on side 2 of Curse of the Damned. The other song, Screams in the Night.
When talking about Screams in the Night, that is written based on the opening montage of the comic book Blood Sacrifice. So Blood Sacrifice was the comic book that went with Curse of the Damned. The Curse of the Damned album is known to be the soundtrack for the comic book Blood Sacrifice, which James Dufresne created. A good friend of ours who's done a lot of Night Demon art. He's done the whole horror series, the Ghoulies shirt, the Fright Night shirt, the Phantasm design. But he's been a friend of ours for a long time. And so if you watch the Screams in the Night video, we actually flash through that whole comic scene splice that in with the stage performance, which is really awesome. I mean, it's still a classic video. I love what we did with that. And, I think about those days and just, like on no budget, just doing stuff. And I mean, I guess we still do stuff on little to no budget, but I don't know, the innocence of it and trying to make it cool and trying to make it spooky and just good times. Thanks for that question.
Yeah, so Curse of the Damned and the comic book Blood Sacrifice. It's another thing we're going to dig into in a future episode. I actually can't wait to get into that one. I love hearing, kind of getting the background stories of songs and albums. So, I'm dying to dig my teeth into that one. Anyway, next question is from Putrefaction Management on Instagram, who says, why no Demolition entrance music cover? So this is a wrestling-themed question. I'm going to let Dusty take this one.
I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, especially of the golden age of the 80s and early 90s. And Demolition was a tag team, Axe and Smash. And they were kind of like a copycat of what the Road Warriors were from other territories. They were the creme de la creme, but Demolition were very popular in the WWF. They were tag team champions and so on. But Rick Derringer actually wrote their theme music. He also wrote Hulk Hogan's theme music. I believe he did the rock and roll Hoochie Coo song. But I think the particular gentleman who's asking this, the Putrefaction Management, I remember Jarvis saying that somebody's been requesting us to do the Demolition theme music, and I know the music by heart just because I've listened to it for so long, and every now and then I'll go on Spotify and find, old school WWF theme music and just, get a little nutty. So that's one of my favorites. So I would love to do the cover of it. I think it'd be fun. It's not really our style, but we could pull it off for sure.
Next question is from Konstantinos Harden, who asks, how do you guys record albums with a modern production that still gives you an old school vibe? That's another very, very good question.
Recording our albums, there's a few things that we do that I think keep it in that old school vibe, but still have a bit of a modern production. Mainly, I think a lot of that has to do with trying to record the basic tracks live together as a band. We don't use a click track. The songs are really rehearsed. We get in the studio, we play them live together, we get that live feel. And we try to keep the production to a minimum, like not too many bells and whistles. Just try to keep it raw and powerful and to the point. And I think that's kind of what makes it have that old school vibe. Because a lot of those bands that, came up before us that were doing this, they didn't have a lot of time in the studios in the early days. So that's kind of how they did things. They just went in, cut them live, and they were out, Later on, when the budgets got bigger and overblown, everybody was spending way too much time in the studio, and then it was like, well, these albums, I mean, they're cool, but they're completely different from what the band is live. So we try to keep that under control, just so we have that cool old school vibe.
That's a conscious effort on our part to mix the modern with the old school. We don't want it to sound like it's from 1981 all around. We want the attitude and the vibe and some of that, more raw production. But, in order to keep up with modern recordings, you have to have a modern sound in there as well. So we're very conscious of that, and we're aware of the whole thing. And, it's no mistake that the songs come out the way that they do because, we spend a lot of time listening and going over things and critiquing. And, once it's ready, then we send it out. But sometimes, over time, sometimes you just are like, oh, okay, well, that is what it is. But, let's do better from here on out and make better sounding stuff. And for me personally, everything that we've done has just gotten better and better, and quality's gotten better. We're learning more all the time. So that was actually a pretty good question. I like that.
Well, I think one of the things that we still do is we really play. We use real amps and tube amplifiers, valve amplifiers. We mic real speakers. We push air through them. We're not recording direct. We play in the same room together. We don't play to a metronome or a click track, which can make it sound very robotic. I don't know. I guess we've tried it and we've never been good at it. So I'll just say that it doesn't sound like us. It sounds like Day Demon.
Day Demon. I found that pretty funny. The next question is from David Stover from the U.S. He says, everyone knows how much Night Demon is influenced by new wave of British heavy metal acts. But who are some of y'all's favorite current, newer metal bands?
A couple of my favorite new bands that are out there would be Visigoth, Bewitcher, Bloodstar, Gygax. And it kind of depends really on what I'm working on in the studio. I have so many bands coming through here that are local or from out of town that, they're usually kind of my favorite thing when I'm working on them. So it's a ever-changing thing for me. I always go back to the classics, of course, but as far as new bands, I think those four that I named, I think are definitely the few that are really kicking some ass right now that I know of. I can't really give a really educated answer to that because I don't quite find really new bands, I don't know, all that appealing, to be honest, if we really want the honest answer. So for me, it's usually if I see a band live, that's what kind of does it for me, because I don't find myself listening to too much music on my downtime, because I really don't ever have downtime. It's either working on Night Demon stuff or whatever band I'm producing in the studio. So a lot of times when I'm in the car or something like that, where I'm listening to something, it's a podcast or something like that, I need a break sometimes from music. So, but if you got any suggestions, send them my way. You know where to find me. Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. All right.
I only like new wave of British heavy metal bands. That's it. I don't like any other kind of bands. No, I'm joking. But wouldn't that be a cool scenester underground thing for me to say? But no, that's not true. Current new bands, metal bands, my favorites, Visigoth, Midnight, Haunt, Bewitcher, Idle Hands, Savage Master. There's a lot of good crop of bands out there. High Spirits. There's some really fantastic, amazing bands in our scene. And man, how cool would it be for a Priest or a Maiden or a Metallica to just dip into this pool of fucking greatness and bring that up a notch to expose them to all those metal fans out there that have no idea what lies beneath.
I got to agree with Jarvis here when he says about like a band like Iron Maiden, maybe bringing up one of these newer bands, shedding some light on that scene. That way we don't have to watch Steve Harris's kids' bands anymore opening for Iron Maiden, which gets tiresome, to say the least. I mean, a band like Night Demon would be the perfect opener for Iron Maiden.
Hey guys, Jarvis jumping in here. I want to tell you about Shadow Kingdom Records. Shadow Kingdom was the first domestic label to release Night Demon on CD. They put out the EP in 2013, and they also released the vinyl version of Live Darkness. Listen, you guys need to get your ass to the Shadow Kingdom Records store, okay? Right now, they're offering 10% off for all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners. Just go to the website, put in the code NIGHTDEMON10. That's Night Demon 10, all capital letters, Night Demon 10. No spaces. Put that promo code in upon checkout to get 10% off. Right now, guys, they have the Bloodstar 7-inch, which has sold over 1,500 copies, and these guys cannot hold on to it. So this next pressing, you want to get that before it goes out, okay? Also, it's SKR Compilation Volume 1. Guys, this is free on Bandcamp. They're giving it away for free. So not only are you going to go to shadowkingdomrecords.com and put in the code, all capital letters, no spaces, Night Demon 10 upon checkout, you're also going to go to their Bandcamp site and get this compilation for free. You're going to hear tons of fantastic fucking heavy metal. If you love us, you're going to love this label. Check it out, shadowkingdomrecords.com. Put in the promo code NIGHTDEMON10 and receive 10% off of your entire order. Do it.
Next question is from Soren Toki. He asks, why the fuck all those EPs? So, in case you haven't noticed, in 2020, Night Demon has been just dropping these EPs, these 7-inch 45s with cool B-sides. There's been 5 of them. So you got Empire's Fall, Kill the Pain, Are You Out There, Visteria, and most recently, In Trance. So yeah, why?
Why the fuck all those EPs? Well, why not? It was our plan going into the year, and it worked out kind of nicely once everything shut down for the pandemic. And I love all the different artwork. I love the packaging. I love the B-side covers. To me, it's fun and it's cool, and people are, really excited. And, it's a collector's item. And, we're big on that kind of stuff. So, yeah, why not?
Why the fuck not? Well, we were so busy over the last couple of years, touring and everything. We really didn't have much time to really start writing multiple songs. So basically, we just kind of recorded each song as we would finish them. And then we got the idea of trying to use different producers for each song because we felt like each song also kind of could stand on their own. And then at the end of the day, we thought it was a cool idea to have different singles with different artwork, different productions, instead of giving it to you all at once and then people get tired of it in a month, then we just give you something new every month.
So the next question is it relates to the last question. It says, will you include the songs from the singles on a future LP? Cheers from Buenos Aires.
I guess it's possible to put all the songs together on one LP, the singles that is. But at this point, there's no definitive plan for that. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Time will tell.
Yeah, this is from Headbangers Magazine from Argentina. Yeah, I know you want the answer to this question, so you can write about it in your magazine. But, we may not let you know yet. We have some plans. But yes, Buenos Aires, we miss you guys. And we definitely need to get back down to Argentina for sure. But, I hope you guys have been enjoying these singles. And if and when we ever do have a future LP, We have all of you in mind down there, and we know the support. We know how strong of a bond we have down there with you guys, and we can't wait to get back down there.
Next question is from Vicky676. She says, will you plan a tour in Europe? You are fucking amazing.
Yes, we will plan a tour in Europe, and thank you for saying we are fucking amazing, because that's just awesome. You're fucking amazing, and thank you for participating in this. Yes, we will tour Europe, and we have something already booked. We've got festivals that have been rescheduled for next year. We've already got Rock the Night in Madrid, which is awesome. Great big festival. Merciful Fate's going to play, do their reunion there. Foreigners playing. It's going to be fucking awesome. Our buddies in Sarathungal, of course, are going to be there. And so I think that got moved to first weekend of June 5 and 6. Prior to that, we're doing this tour that I mentioned earlier, or this triple headline bill that we're doing. That's going to happen in the late spring out there. We will be at Keep It True with Sarathungal. Night Demon will not be performing, but we will be there. And that's in late April. And then, Bang Your Head's happening again in July in Ballingen. That's going to be great. And, honestly, next year is officially the 10th anniversary of Night Demon. It's really hard to believe that. We really didn't start doing anything until 2013, but, the band did form in 2011, and that's when myself and Brent and Pat Bailey got together and had 4 magical rehearsals, and the 5th one turned into a recording session, and that's the Night Demon EP, and that's how things were born. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting off on other tangents here that I'm sure we could have many episodes about, and we will. But all good stuff, and I'm getting a little nostalgic here. So yes, and we miss you guys. Okay, all Europe has been amazing for Night Demon, and we are definitely apart during this pandemic, but we will bridge that gap soon.
We've got time for a couple more questions. This one's from Karsten in Germany. It says, how is it possible to play so many great shows in each and every year? Where does the power come from that makes you as a band deliver night after night? This is a good question. If you look at Night Demon's tour schedule, it's pretty grueling. It's show after show, and they're like grinding it out on the road. So yeah, this is a really good question.
Trying to deliver night after night, I think, is the hardest thing that's out there. Consistency is always something that I talk about being the hardest thing, at least for me. To try to get the energy night after night and perform at the same high level night after night, that's the most demanding part of the whole gig. I'm prepared as far as, knowing what I'm supposed to do when I go up there, but the mental and physical need to work together. And we all need to work together as a band, so we need to be firing on all cylinders all the time. We do that really well because we take what we do seriously. So every time we step on a stage, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, we come out to destroy the entire place. And we want everybody to go home saying, wow, they got better than the last time I saw them. Or if it was the first time they saw us, we completely blew their minds. It doesn't matter if there's 5 people or 5,000. For me personally, I do get really pumped up for the big festivals because of just the amount of people and the big stages. And for some reason, I just get a lot more adrenaline. But I do get pumped up for the small clubs and small bars. I love the energy of being super close to all the fans and, small, sweaty rooms that get super hot. Those are the most physically demanding of all the gigs, and every time I finish a gig like that, I know that I gave it everything I had. So that's really how we perform at a high level every night, is we just give it all we have, and we don't leave anything behind. We leave it all out there.
Well, it's possible to play so many great shows each and every year because anything is possible, and that's our philosophy about everything in life. And I see, Karsten, that you're writing here from Germany, and it's kind of funny because One thing that we hear a lot in Germany is we always hear that phrase, it's not possible, it's not possible, it's not possible. And I know what that means, but in the literal term of something not being possible, it just means that it's out of this world, and it is just there is zero chance of something happening. And I think it gets taken out of context a lot, actually, in Germany. But I digress. Anything is possible, and we expect miracles in our lives, and we take action when we see opportunity.
So Jarvis getting a little serious there at the end, and that's fitting because I kept the most serious, thought-provoking question for last. This is from Sterling P89, who says, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm going to go with one horse-sized duck. 100 duck-sized horses. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been confronted by a single duck, but a duck will fuck you up. A duck can fuck your life up quick. So I would just rather kind of bank on the fact that it's that much larger than me. Maybe I can dodge it, or I can climb up something and get out of its way or something like that. But with 100, I mean, it's like I don't know. It's a swarm of ducks. No, I'm out. Thanks.
Well, I'd rather fight a horse-sized duck. And my reason for that is because at least I could keep an eye on it and kind of run around and dodge it. Whereas if there's 100, 100 duck-sized horses, I mean, they could be running around all over the place, kicking and heeing and haying and biting and all that. At least with one horse-sized duck, I guess if they get me, that's it. It's one and done. I don't know. What kind of question is this anyway?
So that's it for the questions for this episode. In the future, as your questions come in, we may do more of these. Remember, email askthedemon@nightdemon.net if you have a question. Be sure to check out nightdemon.net/subscriber for bonus content, including the Hellbent for Pleather, Judas Priest tribute content. Also, most of these awesome covers that we kind of mentioned earlier are only available two ways. You can buy the 45, the 7-inch single, on vinyl. The other way you can do it is you can stream them in the subscriber section. So for these B-sides and a ton of other bonus content, be sure to check it out. Until next time, this is Nesbitt, signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Unbearable suspense that keeps you on the edge of an abyss of terror.
Take a cult film odyssey into Cinemadness with Cinematic Void. Based in Los Angeles, Cinematic Void is a film series that specializes in horror and exploitation films. Currently, we are hosting Cinematic Void Up All Night in the Cinemadness movie, a monthly virtual screening series, as well as the Cinematic Void podcast, where we dive deeper into the world of cult cinema. You can find Cinematic Void on the World Wide Web at cinematicvoid.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you like what we do, you can support Cinematic Void by joining our Patreon. Until next time, see you in the void.